The Stranger Things Season 5 trailer has finally landed, and there's a lot I could say for an intro, but let's just get into it because there's so much to take away from it, and I feel excited, emotional, and I just want to share my thoughts. First off, the trailer started with the song Who Wants to Live Forever being played, and it pretty much did what it did for Season 4 in merging it with the Stranger Things 80s soundscape in the background, which makes me think that this song could well feature in the first part of the season. Take into consideration that that's what happened in the previous one with Kate Bush running up that hill, and we could see it happen here. With it focusing on the lyrics Who Wants to Live Forever and Who Dares to Love Forever, I think that's most certainly alluding to there being deaths within this season for sure. And with Nancy being in hysterics later on, oh, we could well be getting a Johnny or Steve death. The trailer opened up with the Hawkins Library, but in the upside down, and this is crucial because within the right side up, this seems to be where one of the main gateways to the upside down has been positioned within Hawkins following the Season 4 finale, and we saw it feature here within the trailer later on. Vecna said the line, "At long last we can begin," as he emerged from the darkness, and part of me actually thinks that this could be something that's connected to the end of Season 5 Volume 1. I'm jumping to the end of the trailer here, but the final line of it was, "William, you're gonna help me one last time." I don't see why Vecna would be saying that if he hadn't completed what he set out on doing right from the off, so I actually think that's going to be coming from the end of the final episode of Volume 1. Seeing the Demogorgon bowing towards Vecna was a moment that I thought was a nice touch in the trailer. It showed how even vicious creatures that seem like they lack intelligence are aware of a hierarchy and can be obedient to those that are in control. Plus, it also showed the power that Vecna had at that moment. The lyrics "There's no time for us" was cutting through from Who Wants to Live Forever, and this was as Dustin was riding into school and we saw the population of Hawkins living under this new ruling. The prominence of those specific lyrics shows that Season 5 is most likely going to be like a countdown of Vecna quite literally destroying the right side up, with Dustin walking through the hallways in a way where he wasn't moving out of the way for anybody and the person looking back in shock. It makes me think that following Eddie's death, he's going to have a newfound attitude and one where he's going to be doing his best to stand up for himself and also the memory of Eddie, which I think could be what lands him with that black eye later on. He was also still wearing the Hellfire Club t-shirt, which was the club that Eddie was the leader of, and with Eddie almost being public enemy number one at the school, Dustin being supportive of him isn't something that's going to go down well. After this, we saw Mike and Eleven on top of WSQK radio station, where it seems like the group are going to be having secret meetups away from the eyes of the martial law that seems to have been put in place in Hawkins and the ruling of the military. Mike said to Eleven, "We're really starting to lose it, being stuck in here, no end in sight, maybe tonight's our break." As this was said, we saw a shot of the military at the border of the town showing that nobody was allowed in or out of Hawkins. Plus, we also saw the others were going deep into a tunnel, which seems like it could be leading to the map that we saw later on in the trailer, which was leading to a church. The line where Mike said that there was no end in sight and that they were losing it painted a backdrop of the overall mood and tone and the mindset that the characters were in. We know that the group are constantly going on a hunt for Vecna, so this is why I feel like Mike said maybe tonight's our break, as the search that they're potentially doing could well lead them to him. He did also say, "We find Vecna, we end this once and for all together." This was as all of the group other than Eleven and Hopper were around the table, so it does make me think that on that night Hopper and Eleven could have gone into the Upside Down and be looking for Vecna. The importance of the radio station is something that I think will be explored in the show, but I'm wondering if they're able to use the signals within the station to almost connect to a frequency within the Upside Down, which is why the tower has been seen to be destroyed in the previous trailer by Vecna. Maybe he aims to cut off communication between the dimensions, as we know that sound can be heard between them. As well as this, there was a scene of what looked like Eleven utilizing her powers in the Upside Down and aiming to leap over what I'm imagining is Hawkins' lab. Alongside this, there was a shot of Joyce praying, most likely because Eleven and Hopper were still in the Upside Down, and Mike was looking over at her. This is symbolic because in this situation, Mike and Joyce would be feeling the exact same thing. Mike would be praying for Eleven's safety, and Joyce would be praying for Hopper's. The next line of dialogue was Eleven saying to Mike, "This isn't one of your campaigns. You don't get to write the ending. Not this time." This was met with the group treating Hawkins like a board game, and they placed two people on a square which had what looked like a church on it with a sign that said "Tunnel Entrance." So I wonder if this secret tunnel that the group were walking through was going to be leading them to inside of the church within Hawkins and not actually the Upside Down. Or maybe within the church there's a gateway into the Upside Down. After this, we saw Nancy and Jonathan looking up as it seemed like an energy force or maybe even an opening to the Upside Down was forming on top of them and was quite literally melting what looked like the metal around them. Nancy said the line when speaking about Vecna, he's planning to end our world and he's not going to stop until we're drained of every last ounce of suffering. As this was being said, we saw the radio tower being destroyed, the ground quite literally opening up like it did in the season 4 finale, and we also saw Nancy washing her hands as she was crying, looking like they were covered in blood. This makes me think that we could well end up seeing Jonathan being killed in this situation. Steve was alongside Dustin and comforting him, who was also in tears, so it makes me think that something is definitely going to happen to one of the core cast members in Volume 1. The way that Jonathan put his body in front of Nancy in the clip in the trailer before, showing that he was willing to put himself on the line over her, felt like a small moment where the trailer was showing us that it could well be him. As well as that, we also saw clips of Eleven and Hopper inside of what looked like the lab, or a site where an entrance to the Upside Down was as they were breaking in and sneaking around. Within the Upside Down, there seemed to be this energy that was present above the Hawkins lab, so it makes me wonder if there's something that's going on inside of the lab that's causing it to have this ripple effect in the Upside Down with the way that the military and scientists are trying to get their head around everything. Alongside this, there was also a scene of Nancy and Jonathan together pressing their heads against each other, building that emotion between them to potentially make Jonathan's death land even harder. As well, there was a shot of a Demogorgon entering the tunnel that was on the map that the group were planning on entering, which was going to lead to the church. However, it was just Lucas that was there on his own. So could he potentially be a casualty? There was also a shot of Nancy firing a weapon at a Demogorgon that was battling with a soldier. The next line that was spoken in the trailer was, "We stay true to ourselves, we stay true to our friends no matter what the cost," which is kind of what the entirety of the show has been about. The group being there for one another and helping each other through the darkest of times when they've needed saving. As this was being spoken, there was a shot of Dustin, Nancy, and Jonathan in the Upside Down on top of the tower, and they were looking up at this person that was falling from the sky as lightning bolts were going off. I wonder if this is connected to the cracks that are in the ground. We've seen the likes of Demogorgons emerging from the ground, but what if somebody on the right side up falls through it and ends up falling to their death within the Upside Down? So this could be showing us that the cracks have formed within reality. After this, there was then a shot of Nancy, Jonathan, Steve, and Dustin in the car, and we've seen in the previous trailer that they could well be driving into the Upside Down. With Nancy saying, "Do it," she could be giving the go-ahead for it. Then, all chaos broke out as we saw Eleven moving debris out of the way with her powers, the military's room having glass shattering everywhere, and Lucas carrying Max with a speaker in his hands. We know how important music was when Max was in that state before, and he might well believe that Max might find her way out of that state that she's in if she can hear sound. With a Demogorgon inside of the hospital, it showed that she's most likely going to be in this state for the entirety of Volume 1, as I don't imagine they'll reach the right side up until the climax. We also saw Mike and a new set of characters with Joyce as the military were under attack from the gateways in the ground as Demogorgons were causing utter rampage. From here, we then saw the trailer climax with Vecna arriving on the military base with blood on his newly mended hand looking even more evil than what he did before, this time with more of a spiky look. And he said, "William, you're gonna help me one final time." Vecna had essentially paralyzed Will to the point where he summoned him over and was face to face with him. We know that Will has a deep connection to the Upside Down and he could potentially hold powers himself that he's not unlocked yet. So Vecna, in utilizing Will, might be able to draw them out of him to make him stronger. Or, as we know, Will is also connected to the Mind Flayer, so it might well bring the Flayer back into the franchise. Or an alternative theory could be that because Will is connected to the Upside Down, he's the sacrifice that's needed to bridge the two dimensions together for good. Something that would put jeopardy into the show, and I'd kinda like to see something like that. Then from there, the trailer came to a close. This trailer has probably only got clips from Season 4 Volume 1 in it, as I doubt they dropped anything that could give away the plot for Part 2 or the finale on New Year's Eve. But until the end of November, this is all we've got, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen when the first episode airs. So, there you have it, Stranger Things Season 5 trailer explained.